title that I have given to my today's short exhortation message or freedom talk, what you call it, is Dangers of Dogmas. I'll repeat, Dangers of Dogmas. Now, some of you must be thinking, what is a dogma? D-O-G-M-A, dogma. First of all, let me tell you, it's nothing to do with dogs. Okay, that's a joke. Dogma, if you see the dictionary meaning of dogma, it is a principle or a set of principles or rules set up by some kind of authority which are unquestionable. You cannot question it. It's the dogma. You cannot question their dogmas. So something, a principle or set of principles or rules which are set by an organization or authority or someone, and these dogmas that they have set cannot be questioned. You cannot question it. It's done deal. That is the way it is now. That is called a dogma. And I believe there are a lot of dangers of these dogmas these days. So let me just dive into the word. I started this thing. Let me just take you back a second. Maybe around 1 or 2 years back, I shared in a church, and then after the service was over, fellowship was on, a young guy approached me, and he was a sharp intellect kind of a guy, IITian fellow, and he genuinely asked me some questions. And being the person who just preached and all, I was very calm, I was very composed, and I was answering his questions. Okay, yeah, but this is it, and I was just helping him out and answering his questions. From outside, I was looking very cool and composed and calm, but from inside, there was some kind of frustration. I can't describe the emotion, but it was all of a sudden I became very defensive. And this guy, he is a very good guy. He was genuinely asking questions to me. He was not putting me on the spot. He was not trying to put me down by asking me smart questions, but genuinely his heart was filled with questions. So he was asking me genuine, good, nice questions. But I went into this defensive mode. And from outside it was cool and composed mode, but inside it was defensive, and I didn't like the emotions that I was going through that day. So I went back home and I was thinking, and I said, why was I so defensive? Just because I have a dogma, I have a belief about something, if somebody questions what I believe, I should not get so defensive about it. It's okay, people have different opinions, people can express themselves, they can question. So that day I started discovering and took this path of why people are so adamant on their dogmas and they don't want anyone to question the dogma. And one thing about dogma is, the older it is, the known or more famous it is, people consider it to be true. It has to be true because it's very old, it's very famous, everybody knows this, everybody talks about it. That does not mean a dogma is true just because it's old. So let's not get into this defending dogmas which I shared last week also about small mindsets. So let me give you 3 points and why these dogmas are dangerous, why we should beware of these kind of dogmas. And I think one reason why we cannot question these dogmas is because the people who are walking in it for 30, 40 years or living in it or believing these dogmas, I think they themselves don't have the answers. I don't think they have the answers. That's why they have said this is unquestionable, because the maximum answers they can give, because we believe it, because our founder believed it, because this is it, that is it. Maybe they don't have the answers. That's why they have kept their dogmas unquestionable. Okay, the dangers of dogmas is, first, normally dogmas are somewhere connected to religion or religious dogmas. The first danger of this dogma is it distorts the image of God. I believe with all my heart God is love, and He is the Father of all. We are all His children, and His love towards us is unconditional. But some people have these dogmas and they make their dogmas their God, and they just limit God to their human perception. Their dogmas limit God to a very judgmental and a harsh kind of a old guy sitting somewhere up and watching very closely who's doing what, who's saying what, and has a stick and will punish you if you are not doing well, and will reward you, will bless you if they are doing right. So I think these dogmas distort the loving image of God. Like I said last week, they put God in a box that He is this kind of a God. They make God a very tribal God according to the dogmas that they are believing in, or they have believed in for a long time. But let me tell you, if you want to connect to God, you don't need no dogma. You can just connect to your Father because He is in you. The second thing, I think the danger of dogma is that dogmas divide us. Anytime you see dogmas, is like, if you love me, if you love my dogma, we are friends. If you don't agree with my dogma, I can't sit with you. It's always detaches people, despise people, divides people. In a country like ours, already we have so many religions that are dividing us. Plus we have dogmas in the religion, and there's so many thoughts and so many things that are dividing people. For example, caste system or untouchability, that was a dogma in India. It was a strong dogma, and people believed in it and lived in it for years and years and years, until people like Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar, they came along and they said, what is this? Dogmas are not to be defended, guys. Dogmas are to be challenged. Just because some things are going on, that doesn't mean they are right. I was reading the story of Galileo. It was 16th century. He was called the father of modern science. So one day he came up with a theory which said that he just suggested a theory that maybe Earth is not the center of the universe. Until then, everybody believed that Earth is the center of the universe and everything revolves around the Earth. So this guy came in 16th century, Galileo, and he said, no, I think Earth is not the center of the Earth. Maybe Sun is the center of the universe and Earth revolves. And he was put on trial for 17 years. He was excommunicated from his community just because there was a dogma which said Earth is in the center of the universe. And how can you speak against this dogma? And right now in this 21st century, we all know the solar system. Small kids also know the solar system. So are you thinking where I'm coming from? Just because things are being going on, that does not make them true. Dogmas are to be challenged. Okay, the third point I want to share about dogma is that dogma deceives. Sometimes I think that people are so intelligent, sharp, smart, with good common sense. How come when it comes to dogmas or religious dogmas, they just become very superstitious, and how do they get deceived in this kind of dogmas? Because dogma presents itself as something very good, as something very helpful in the beginning. It brings a sense of relief or a blessing or a healing. But as soon as you start following that dogma starts to trap you up. See, I am not saying, I also have my dogmas, you have your dogmas. I don't want to strip you of your dogmas, because I know people are very secured with their religion and with their religious dogmas, and I am by no means taking away your security, but I am just helping you to see that just because it's your dogma, it does not give you the right to detest people and just disconnect with others and despise them just because they don't believe in something that you believe. This message especially, like millennials like me, and I don't know who's in that age group of millennials, frankly speaking, we never think. Just because something has been passed on to us, we just embrace it and take it. We should learn and start to think. I love people who ask questions, because the people who ask questions, they think. And that's why they ask questions. The new generation, Gen Z, who were born after 2000, they are not buying into all these things. They want answers, they want logic, they just want to know why is it. And I think that is a good thing. So this message is not for the people who are very happy with their habit of religion and secured in religion. Please continue. I love you with all my heart and I respect your religion. I don't want to strip you off with the security that is attached to your religion. But I want to voice out my thoughts to people who are waiting that someone will come and speak some things to our heart, because they are not connecting with religion and religious dogmas now. more than 50%, I think, people, they don't want to be part of any religious activities. They don't want to be like the generation which was so much religious activities and dogmas and do this and do that. This generation does not want. And I am here to tell you guys that there is no need for you to be attached or connected to any kind of religious dogmas to connect to God. I've seen some people are very scared to leave their religious dogmas because they think they are leaving God. But let me tell you, God is in you. He lives in you. You can never leave God. Just because you are fed up of religion and religious dogmas and you don't want to be a part of it, step out. It's okay. God is in you. You don't have to go through all this religious activities. I know in the bottom of your heart you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I have to do it because my family is doing it, or because I've been doing it for years and years and years, and if all of a sudden I don't want to do it, they'll ask me 10,000 questions. It's okay. Take that step of freedom. Move ahead. I want you to live in freedom.